Our meeting to order and ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I can get through this wire. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Public forum, commissioner updates. Did you have anything?
We want to probably start with any comment from the public, because we have some public members here.
Do we have someone from the public?
Did you want to?
Yes.
Yes.
Step right up and,
Bring your chair up if you'd like to adjourn.
Yeah.
I won't bite, I promise.
or maybe we can slide one of these around.
You're on camera.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Deb Elliott, and I hail from our beautiful little town of Bremen. Robert, Bob Conlon is with me here.
I live in
And
Wiscasset. I'm a friend of Deb's.
that's right. And we're here to just ask and
Would you speak up, please?
yes, sir. We're here to just ask about working with the federal agents and ICE on immigration. That is our concern today, is immigration, the policies. I did talk to Carrie, and so I have the lowdown, but I wanted to be here in person, face to face. And so, you can say anything you want on the phone or whatever, but FaceTime, is important to me. So I understand the sheriff's department is not on as their normal duty going and picking up immigrants. But I'm concerned that it might be in the future. So that's why I'm here, and I know Robert has a few questions as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. I think, we were asking more or less about the difference between will the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, for example, honor an administrative warrant from ICE, or will it be a judicial warrant?
You have to speak
That
up.
stuff.
We're recording this.
Oh,
so
I
it's-
see, yeah.
So that's right.
So we wanted to just kind of differentiate, what, if there is written policy by the county, who writes the policy, who decides the policy? Is it the sheriff's office? Is it the county administration? And then will there be a distinction between honoring a judicial warrant or an administrative warrant from ICE in regards to detaining individuals? That was a follow-up on Deb's. And the other thing that I wanted to ask in the bigger picture was, we're down on the bridge here in Wiscasset and oftentimes in Newcastle, Damariscotta, peacefully protesting, as everybody knows we're entitled to do. And there was an executive order signed by the president on April 28th about having the military be available to assist local law enforcement. That was on April 28th, and it could be enacted in 90 days. So by July 28th of this year, that could be a possible. That could be a real thing happening here in this county, and this is my reading on it. It feels like a very intimidating thing for people who are standing out on the bridge peacefully protesting, to think that the military might be available to be up there to quell something like a peaceful demonstration. We want to know what the local law enforcement here in this county will do to serve and protect us on the bridge and elsewhere, and whether there's going to be any policy for that. I'm getting a little shaky just talking about it, because this is America. We shouldn't have to ask these questions, but we are, because we have to. So that's it. That's all I have.
Yep.
You're smiling, sir. What's funny about
Well, I was just thinking of many, many years ago when I was in the military, we had no authority with civilians.
Yeah, right.
So, and I suspect that it may still hold true. just because someone does it doesn't, writes his name on a paper, doesn't necessarily make it law.
Well, it's not someone, though, it's the President of the United States.
He is a citizen.
Well, he's not acting like one.
Well, let's not debate that
So,
issue.
I know, we'll stay out of the politics, but I think a lot of these executive orders are, so far, in the reading of a lot of people who have legal background that I don't have, are unlawful, but they're still being enacted. So, this one, and by the way, it also, that same executive order also, it promises any law enforcement who are sued for any actions that take place as a result of that, maybe, hitting somebody when they're not supposed to, for example, that they'll have pro bono legal help, legal assistance pro bono from the government, which is sort of a dog whistle to say, hey, if you want to beat up some protesters, go ahead, because we'll pay for it. That's in the executive order. That's written for a reason. That's why we're here. So,
I don't believe that will happen here. I have
no.
big faith in our sheriff's department, in our town departments, police departments, and but still, that holds true that it
Yeah.
could happen, and we're here to try to possibly prevent something like that. We're here to speak about our concerns. We are concerned. Because there's some bad players that could infiltrate our peaceful protest and cause a whole bunch of shenanigans going on, and we don't want our peaceful protests to be knocked down so that we can't have them. And so if there's any kind of violence, even if somebody else instigates it against one of us, or, even one of us against the gate, who knows, right? We're not going to do that, but you never know. People are people, right? So that would shut down our peaceful protests. And I know it's Damariscotta Police Department that would possibly come through on our bridge, go through the Rennie's parking lot, because we did have one of our protesters accosted in the Rennie's parking lot when he was leaving. He had a flag, and a gentleman came out and started just screaming at him right in his face about, blah, 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 right? It was against what we're doing. And, it didn't get violent, but it makes me, the more afraid they are, the more afraid they are. And fear can cause really bad actions. And so that's what we want to be able to protect ourselves. We want to be able to stand out there and say, hey, we're here, save our libraries. None of us have any FTD, right? FDT, whatever, signs. None of us. It's save the food pantries, it's save the libraries, save the post offices. I'm in little old Bremen, old 800 people, and we have a little tiny post office. And if it ends up, I'm a treasurer secretary of my little HOA, so I have to go to the post office box all the time and pick up checks and dues and bills and such. So if they end up shutting that down, then now I have to go to Damariscotta or Waldoboro for my mail. And our gentleman that's the postmaster, Lance, he is a veteran, disabled veteran, and he's the postmaster. And if that closes down, all of a sudden, he loses his job. So anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. But what I'm trying to say is we're not out there screaming at people. We're unified. I don't know if you've come through and seen us. You probably have. We're smiling and waving. We're joyful. We just want to make sure everybody knows, the things that are going on in our community. That's what we're, food security. All these things that taking federal money away from the poorest people. And we have a lot of poor people. Mm-hmm. Right? In Bremen, there's a lot of older ladies that have never worked, and they're widows, and they're sitting in their houses that are falling in around them, and they're living on $800 a month, Social Security, you know? How are they gonna live if any of that's taken away? You know, and main care, if that's taken away, what about all the, I think 70%, I believe, or 60% of the folks that are in assisted living homes are on main care? And if they take that away, where are they gonna go? Are their kids ready to take them in and take care of them? These are just the community concerns, okay? We're not trying to take over anything like that. We're just trying to get out there and show, you know, that we're there and we stand for everybody, no matter what side of the fence they're on, you know? So, anyway, it's just, and you know, we just wonder if, you know, it'd be possible to just cruise by our protests, cruise through the Rennie's parking lot. You know what I mean? A couple times we're on the bridge on Wednesdays, 11 to noon. We're only out there 1 hour. So, you know, I probably need to talk to the Damascotta Police Department about that. But just a simple cruise through so that everybody knows there's somebody, you know, our public servants looking out for us and just having a presence. You know, it's like having a police car on the side of the road in a driveway and everybody slows down. Oh shit, you know. It's just that presence, right, that does that. So, I'm sorry going on so much. I'm just so passionate about this stuff. And I'm concerned for us, for our people, for the poorest of the poor.
We haven't had any request from ICE for any change, and there would be some discussion if that came up, I'm sure. And what you folks are doing is the American way of going out and the ability to go out and to show your feelings, protesting or supporting whatever position. We should continue as the American way for doing that.
Yeah.
So we appreciate your coming in, and it's important that people be able to express themselves.
Yeah, I just wanted to add before we leave that I personally, like Deb, also believe that, you know, our local law enforcement is, you know, they're a great bunch of people. So it's not that I have any fear that anybody in this local law enforcement is going to do anything that they shouldn't be doing. I think they do serve and protect the community. I just think that if there's pressure from above, you know, asking or demanding or whatever, that something be done, that, you know, maybe there should be some policy, maybe the people in the community ought to know how, you know, our local law enforcement is going to respond to that kind of pressure if it comes down the pike. And that executive order that I talked about, I think, is designed to, you know, scare people like us from going out on the street. You can only read it that way. Like, you can only, you know, it's out there for a reason. It was signed for a reason. It was written for a reason. It was written the way it was for a reason. And so it's coming, July 29th. I think everybody should at least be aware of it.
Yeah.
And to know that we're all out there for the right reasons. We're not advocating the overthrow of the government. We're just, like Deb said, we're out there for the right reasons.
Well, thank
for
you
everybody.
Thank you for coming in. I think you're responding as citizens are able to, and historically have been able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you so much for taking the time to hear us out and for your genuine concern. We seriously appreciate that, sir. So we're gonna step out, make room for other seats, and we'll hang out in the hall for a few.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
for
being
coming.
here.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Yeah. Well, the minutes of the meeting, is there anyone else who wanted to speak? I don't want
Do we want to do the quick updates portion?
to. We have the minutes of the April 15th meeting.
Bill, I think Evan has an update.
Oh, you do, I'm
We
sorry.
added in commissioner updates.
Well, I sort of backed him up to
Oh,
the
gotcha.
public first, so.
Well, anyway, I'll give a quick rundown of what I've been working on. So I'm the county rep for the Coastal Counties Workforce Board. There's 3 workforce boards in the state, and the Coastal Counties Workforce Board has 3 county commissioners from each of the, 6 county commissioners on their board of directors. Been attending those meetings, and previous to my involvement, we had 1 business on the business board of the meeting, which was Trans World Business Advisors, which I believe is some sort of franchise group. Myself and Alex Zaparo went to their business meeting, and we invited the HR director from Bigelow Labs, who is now going to join as one of the business reps on the Coastal Counties Workforce Board. So that's good. We're getting more Lincoln County representation there. And then sitting on the Regional Planning Commission Board of Directors, we've gotten 2 new reps from Dresden. We previously had none at the beginning of this year, and looks like next week we'll have 1 from Edgecombe. So we've got 4 or 5 towns with no representation yet, but hopefully we'll, in the coming months, have all the slots filled, or at least 1 slot from each town filled. So those are my updates.
Evan, what's CCWI?
Yeah, that's, so Coastal Counties Workforce Board is the board of directors, and then Coastal Counties Workforce Incorporated is how they operate for the rest of their grant stuff. So they've got a business section, and then they've got a legal section.
And we have 1 representative on that?
We have 1 representative for the CEO board. So York, Cumberland, Saginaw, Lincoln, Knox, and Waldo. That's what makes up that board. So they deal with a lot of grants from the Federal Department of Labor, and that's their programming.
And you meet once a month with them, or
Every other.
every other month?
Yep.
Thanks.
And we determine that as opposed to, there's been struggles in the past for the state to handle, to take over the money.
Yep, correct.
Anyone else?
Well, I can just tell you, I serve as your representative on the MCCA board, County Commissioners Association, and the biggest thing that I've been involved with them is they're relooking at their bylaws to make sure it's modernized to the way we're functioning nowadays. The MCCA also has a legislative committee, and I know they've been reviewing a lot of bills, and there was a call to action today on one
Jail funding.
bill. I didn't focus on that yet to see what the issue was, but there's that out there. So that's about it for that.
Cool.
Not wanting to leave anyone else out in the universe? Is there anyone else?
No, I think those are commissioner updates, so that just leaves you, so if you had anything to update. Right?
I don't have anything more to say.
Okay, great. Then
Now, we'd like to have the minutes approved.
Move to approve the minutes of April 15th.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
3-0 in favor. Thank you. Well, now we're getting down to finance.
Good morning. Before you have VP warrant number 51 in the sum of $203,081.25. The largest portion of this was our monthly health insurance bill for May. We also had some other routine monthly maintenance bills for our cruisers, installation of equipment for our cruiser, and our case management services with Maine Pretrial.
So the Hillside, it was more than one vehicle?
Correct.
Okay.
It's 2 months' worth of vehicle maintenance is what that
Okay.
is.
So we have a program where they go there monthly to be checked out or something?
Correct.
Where
Routine
they go when
maintenance.
they're needed.
Yeah, when needed, yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to take these as a package or individually?
Let's take one at a time.
I move we approve accounts payable warrant number 51.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
3-0 in favor.
Move to approve accounts payable warrant number 53.
Second.
Well, would you like to explain it?
Well, it's $221,082.69. $201,736 of this is for the monthly jail assessment. So 90% of this went to the jail for their operations.
That was mainly,
Is the
Yeah.
Saginaw contribution similar, or how is that assessment?
Slightly higher.
Slightly higher? And is it done by jail count, or what is it, how is that determined?
So our number is based on the tax cap that was in statute prior to the last revision.
Okay,
So our cap was at $2.4 million. We divide it by 12. We send them a payment monthly.
okay.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0 in favor. Now the final one?
Now we're moving on to payroll.
Yes.
Before you is payroll number 8 in the sum of $285,985.54. This payroll is slightly higher than typical because we had the payouts for the retirement of Bobby Robinson, a 39-year
39 years.
39-year dispatcher.
Earned every penny.
Amen.
Okay, good. That's it. Primarily for that one, was there a motion?
Move to approve payroll warrant 2025-8.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0 in favor.
Payroll number 9 for the year in the sum of $277,697.36. Pretty typical payroll. We're seeing an increase in overtime. That's as the influx of visitors increases, call volumes increase. Many of our staff are starting to take time off as the weather gets nicer, so we're having to fill shifts. So as you can see here, this is the first time that we have gone over a 1/12 budget or a 1/26 budget for an overtime figure. That's mainly driven by the comm center overtime. Right now, when you break down personnel as a whole within that department, it is 6.5% under the expectations, so it's not a huge concern right now, but based on the current consumption, it will be a problem in September. So this is something that we're gonna wanna keep an eye on and visit and make sure is managed.
And is it one particular area where the overtime is being spent?
In the comm center right now.
So the primarily the sheriffs,
No, their consumption's only about $24,000.
but usually that's, that and the communications are the big ones.
Oh, yeah, or the big contributing factors of what the overtime budget is, yes.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve payroll warrant 2025-9.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
3-0 in favor.
Let's put this over here.
I haven't figured out in Trio yet how to make it so it puts your name in.
Oh, that's fine. Should I print it too so people can read it?
It just looks cleaner with your name.
Yes, it certainly does.
And I just don't want to pay Trio to do the data programming for it.
Yeah.
Right? Is this okay with you?
No. I just want to do
Feeling like the county pen,
Fast
huh?
and Furious. Here we
What?
go.
Nothing like feeling like the county pen.
Would you call these?
This is the cheapest, oops, sorry,
The
big that you can
JFK,
find.
for a public. Thank
Marks
you.
on it.
Not
Like you
mine.
had CIA training,
Yet
I
anyway.
could tell. They were national
Don't speed on
intelligence.
fast.
No, it's good. I like whatever Ham left me in the drawer. Something borrowed and something new.
There might be one from the Queen Mary,
The Queen Mary the ship.
yes.
I'll look for that later.
You just see Cunard.
You done, Michelle?
You would bring them in from your cruises.
All I could afford was the brochure.
Okay, the sheriff's department?
Michelle's not done.
Yep.
Yes, we're still doing
Well,
Stick to
you're
the
here.
script,
Let me
Oh, you
everybody.
had something
It's
else?
not done yet. So the document Carrie sent you yesterday is our plan document to bring the paid family medical leave in-house. What that translates to is we will self-fund and self-administer the program, which means we no longer send the money to the state. We can self-fund this through our payroll process as we are now. Once we build up a reserve balance, we will no longer have to process this through payroll, which is a benefit to the employees, because right now this is a taxable fringe benefit to them. This is a draft still working on it. I have gone through the process of getting a quote for a surety bond. That's part of the process. We're looking at about $2,100 a year to maintain that. I expect that number to be, I expect that to be flat for the next 3 years based on our payroll consumption and what this rate is. I, at this point, will need approval to submit the application to the state of Maine once we are finished with that document.
Are these formed sort of plans? Has the state put out any guidance on what should be submitted and?
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah, so they put out a template of, they put some loose language out and an expectation of definitions for the plan document. Their formatting's a little clunky. I think that's the best way to explain it. But it does allow for us to tailor it how we prefer to run the plan.
Okay.
Their only requirement is we can't be more restrictive than what they've set up in the law. So far, we're meeting their requirements,
So-
or actually exceeding
Yeah,
them.
so if approved, the money stays in our bank account, so.
Correct.
Okay. And how would that be managed in a separate, just accounting issue, or would it be in a separate bank account or whatever, protected because it's related to the employment, or it's employee funds, wouldn't it be at that, or no? Like withholding like taxes, is it?
So it's not a withholding, it's
Right.
it's an employer match, so it's not employee funds
Right,
at this
okay.
point. So it would be housed in the same general fund checking account that we
Okay,
have,
yeah,
which will help with our cash flow.
Right.
It'll be an accounting process, which will be
Okay.
held in a reserve account, separate. I can allocate interest to it each month or annually, however we choose to do that modified accrual process. And the other factor of that is it allows us to have more control of the volume of contribution. So we're required to do 1% of wages, but if we have a sufficient amount of reserve funds, we don't have to continue to fund that, which will help maintain our tax rate. We're not
So
gonna
is there
see
an
those
annual
spikes.
cap, or is it a cap based on number of employees once we have that reserve?
There's no hard cap. It's gonna be based on consumption.
Yeah.
The way we do our
It gets
budget.
reviewed annually is.
Right, and
okay,
the way we do
used.
our budget, our positions are budgeted at 100% already. So the consumption of that reserve is going to be driven by the additional costs of having to backfill shifts when somebody is out on paid leave versus paying that person while they're out, because it's already budgeted. The financial burden of the maintenance of the policy is not going to be significant for us compared to a regular business.
So this method should be beneficial to the county financially.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're looking right now at sending somewhere between $56,000 and $60,000 a year to the state. And then on top of that, the state gets to determine whether or not an employee is eligible, whether or not what tier they fit in within their payment scale. It takes any control that the county has to assist this employee with paid family medical leave out of our hands.
Would it make claims faster?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It would be all administered
All right.
in-house.
And then the front page here indicates that the expiration date will be based on the approval letter. Do you
Correct.
anticipate that we'll have to be renewing every year?
Every
or is it-
3 years. So
Every
once your
3
plan
years,
document
okay.
is approved by the state, it's in effect for 3 years unless you violate that plan
Okay.
document and the state revokes it.
Okay, great.
What action would you like to take?
Move to approve allow the treasurer to submit the application for the main paid Family Medical Leave Act for a self-insured private plan.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0 in favor.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah, have fun.
I had fun geeking out on that
tell.
plan document,
We
thank
can tell when
you.
everybody else is falling asleep
Yeah,
right there.
it's
You're
like,
up wide awake.
Self-insurance, Thank you, Michelle.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Sheriff.
Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I thought I'd start by just following up to the public comment that we had a little bit earlier, just to shed some light on some steps that we've taken already at the sheriff's office. Deb asked very pointedly, I think, about, the gentleman with her asked pretty poignantly about administrative warrants and things like that, right? So in our national database, National Crime Information Center, NCIC, we call it, it's a not to go into a lot of detail, it's a computer system maintained by the federal government, by, through the FBI, and that houses warrants nationally, and other missing persons information and federal probation and all kinds of information that's very specific on how it can be entered, and there are a lot of rules around that. And that's where information is housed on these administrative warrants for ICE or Border Patrol or whatever immigration nationalization situations. There are essentially two types of entries that they can put there. One is called a deported felon. One is called an administrative warrant, right? So we did receive communication from the Department of Homeland Security. I think every law enforcement agency in the state did. Gee whiz, probably 6 months ago. Maybe not quite that long ago. Shortly after the change in administration. We're only into May, so it was probably only 5 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago. Seems like forever. I'll leave it at that. But anyway, asking us to enforce administrative warrants, should we come across them, and how to enter into an agreement with ICE under federal law, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I chose not to do that. In fact, I instructed my staff via memorandum, which is policy, that we're not going to take any stance on administrative warrants. They're not our concern. That's not our jurisdiction. I don't have any authority to enforce federal law of any kind. So that memo has been in place. We will enforce deported felon warrants. Those are felony warrants, like any other criminal felony warrant that's in the system. Should we come across those, so we've already taken a stance on that. Me personally, I have no intention at this point to change that. We work very closely. I think in a positive way with Border Patrol here in Maine. Border Patrol has a number of resident agents, they call them, that really work away from the border. When I say a number, there's like 8 or 10 from Eastport to Kittery. So they're stretched pretty thin. A couple of them happen to live right here in Lincoln County. One here in Wisconsin, one down in Boothbay. So we work closely with them, should we have situations arise where we have deported felons and whatnot. They've been quick to help us with that when they can. We're finding more and more that they're busier and busier and less available to help us. I think it's the nature of the beast as it goes on. If that's the case, we're just going to let people go if we don't have any other reason within Maine law to detain them for some criminal matter, right? So we're not into detaining folks, and again, it's not my bailiwick.
Right. You do have judicial warrants, so they've also asked about, and those you're required for, right?
When I talk about deported felons,
that's what you're-
those are judicial warrants.
Right.
Yep. Yes. We will enforce those. If we come across those. Those are felony warrants. Those are
Right.
serious
Yeah.
warrants. We had a situation here not too long ago where a gentleman was stopped. It was a little high-speed chase. A guy went up in a tree. You probably read about it in the paper here in Wisconsin. It was a Wisconsin case. But there's a case of a person who may have been in the country illegally, but had active felony warrants from other states. You know what I mean? The fact that this person was potentially here illegally had really very little to do with our response and the warrants that were in the database and things like that. And that's fairly common for us in dealing with those situations.
But they're signed by a judge, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Or there's a judicial
The
process, right?
Federal warrants,
Right,
yes.
yeah.
Some are state warrants. In this case, there were felony warrants for robbery and burglary out of Ohio, Illinois, one of those states, in the Midwest there, in that particular scenario. People are on edge, and I think it's clear from listening to Deb's comments that people are on edge and they're concerned. And it creates concern for us. We support, I'm a constitutional officer, as you know, and we take that very seriously and people's right to gather peacefully and do that. And so we have and will continue to work with the Damascotta Police and other local agencies to make sure that those happen safely and securely. We try to stay out of it, right? Sometimes our presence isn't always welcome. Or can make matters worse depending on how we approach the situation. I think the most important part for us, and I would encourage Deb and others who are gathering like that, the more communication they can have with us ahead of time, the better we can make a plan and work with them to make sure that things stay as peaceful as we can. God bless America. There are at least two sets of opinions. And folks are just as passionate about the opposite side of the opinion as others, and they're welcome to express that, even loudly and in your face, as long as they're not violating the law or otherwise. And that can be uncomfortable, it can be intimidating. But there's oftentimes, not a lot we can do about peaceful expression of your opinions, no matter how aggressive it may appear or feel. And that's difficult for folks to understand sometimes. There's a balance there for us, and we try to work that.
Do we know when ICE brings a detainee to Two Bridges, what they've been charged with, or?
We do?
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that make a difference of whether or not they actually get housed there temporarily, or?
It does, yes.
Okay.
So if, it's my understanding that Two Bridges won't accept anybody on administrative warrants either.
Okay. Right.
And anybody that's being housed at Two Bridges, which are not, typically, I don't think there's any of the ones that are there from ICE that were actually a case here in Lincoln County. A majority of them came from other parts of the state or even other parts of New England. And they all have criminal charges pending. But that's a question probably more for Colonel
jail.
Bailey. But that's
Right.
my understanding as a member of the jail authority, the way things are going with that.
Okay.
So we're going to monitor the situation carefully. One of the things that I'd like to do, as you know, you probably know, I almost 2 years ago, I formed a Citizens Advisory Committee to the sheriff, right? Group of citizens who volunteered to come forward, kind of take a look at what we do. I'm trying to be transparent. Two-way communications, another step for me to communicate with the people that we serve to figure out how we're doing. There's been a lot of discussion at our CAC meetings about immigration, as you can imagine. And we're planning to hold a public forum along that to talk about that, to talk about where we are, what we're doing, that kind of thing. I'll certainly keep the board apprised of that. I'm going to try to get some of our federal partners, if they're willing, to come and talk about more clearly define perhaps what Border Patrol's role is, for example, as in their resident agent program and what they're doing. If that will help folks understand why you may be seeing more Border Patrol folks around. And that was an initiative really that's been going on for a couple of years now. That's not necessarily, there may have been some internal policy changes since the change in administration in January, but the Border Patrol presence has been with us for a number of years now. They've had the resident agent program, in effect for quite a while. So it's on my radar very much so, and I'm glad that these folks took time to come in and share their concerns. I want them to know that it's foremost on radar screen, if you will. And we're trying to be very open-minded as we approach it and stay focused on what our real function is, right? And my real function is public safety, right? And to me, my stance is, and the way I've tried to address it with my staff, is that that's our primary function, is keeping people safe here in Lincoln County. If we encounter someone who's a felon, I don't care what country they're from. If they're a danger to the citizens here in Lincoln County, we're going to take action on that as long as we're able to within the law. The fact that they happen to be from a foreign country is irrelevant to me at that point. You know, we have a job to do, and that is to promote public safety, and we're going to continue to do that. That having been said, we're not looking. That's not my job.
Right. Have the protesters been working with the sheriff's department to make sure that there's a safe protest? And,
Yeah, I don't want to call them protests,
Oh,
right? I
whatever,
mean, you can
right.
call them whatever you want, call them
Whatever.
gatherings, call them vigils, call them
Right.
protests.
Peaceful assemblies.
Peaceful
Right,
assemblies,
right,
right,
right.
yeah, so yes and no,
Okay.
right? So we've had a lot of communication, especially when there's something planned ahead of time. You know, there was a few months back, again, I lose track of time.
Right.
There was a launching at BIW. It prompted some gatherings both in Bath and over here in Wiscasset. We planned ahead for that. And listen, it's interesting because we work closely with the Wiscasset Police, with the state police in preparation for that, because it was really in conjunction with the protest that was going on in Bath at BIW, where several people were arrested for obstructing a public way. So we were prepared for that. We were working with local law enforcement on that. We didn't have any issues over here. We were prepared in the event that we did, but we didn't. And those folks were somewhat communicative, sometimes not so
right.
communicative. Our local folks who have been gathered, they usually let us know. You know, and if they have a special event going on, almost always they reach out to us to try to communicate. But you know, those events are pretty hard for them to control, I suspect, right? You never know who's going to show up with either more passionate opinions or opposing opinions, and they can be, you know, but communication ahead of time, we try to reach out if we know who's sponsoring those events. Just try to keep that communication going so we can be as prepared as we can.
But would it be a best practice for those organizations to contact you
Absolutely.
too?
Or any local law enforcement
Right.
agency, just
Right.
to keep us, you know, apprised of the situation and, you know, and so on. So
Okay.
that helps.
Thank you, that's really helpful.
That's all right, no problem. Looks like our jail count this morning, Mr. Chair, out at Two Bridges is 173. We have 21, 31 from Saginaw, 23 from Knox, 51 down from Penobscot, 21 from Waldo, 4 federal inmates, and which are U.S. Marshal inmates, and 22 from ICE today. 142 of those are pretrial. Well, you can see the numbers there. If you don't have any questions on the count, the next item I have on the agenda is a recommendation to make a conditional offer of employment to Brandon. I'm going to probably mutilate his last name. I think it's I don't know, Machuba maybe. I don't know. Machuba.
You want to spell it?
Maciuba. That's assuming that the chief spelled it right.
I think it's on the agenda. Yep. Sorry, I didn't see it there.
That's okay, yeah.
My tech stuff.
Brendan comes to us with a significant amount of experience in New York, and we look forward to the opportunity to get him a waiver, training waiver, because he was a full-time certified officer out of state. We can get him a waiver here in Maine, hopefully, which will save us having to send him off to the academy for 18 weeks. But there are still some hoops to jump through as far as background and things like that go. So looking for your approval to move forward with Brendan conditionally.
Move to approve the hiring authorization for Brandon Machuba.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments? All in favor?
Just a question on where does that put your patrol division with this hire? Are you fully staffed at that point, or
No.
is it you still need more?
I think that will leave us one down. I think that leaves one vacancy
Okay.
Want to work, Commissioner?
in patrol.
Well, I'll see if I can fit it in my schedule, right?
I think that leaves us.
I'm over the
with
age limit, I think, too.
No.
You're really pulling me in.
We have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0 in favor. Next.
The next item I have is a payment authorization. This is a budgeted payment for 2 new vehicles from 3 new Dodge Durangos. In the amount of $113,273. It's a budgeted amount for replacement vehicles.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve payment authorization, Key Auto Newcastle, $113,273.
Second.
Any questions?
I have some information to add. So we generally use the bid process, but we received information from Key Chrysler that the prices were going up May 1st. And in order to take advantage of the lower price that was pre-increase, I reached out to Commissioner Blodgett for approval to go outside of the bid process to secure these vehicles. Our historic, most recent cruisers that we've purchased have been in the low to mid 40 range, and the price per vehicle on these was about $38,000. So it was already less than what we were anticipating for last year's prices. And with the bid openings happening after May 1st, our concern is that the prices that come in with these bids would be higher than the amount we would be able to secure through this opportunity.
Thank you.
And then we have to outfit them once you have them.
Oh, yes.
That's the purchase, and that cost is pretty,
Except for 2 out of those 3 vehicles are going to be replacing Dodge for Dodge. They're already Dodge
Swap 'em
Durangos,
all.
and what I'm told from the installer is that equipment should transfer. So it actually will save us some money. If we had gone to Fords, we would have had to buy new equipment. So 2 out of those 3 vehicles, the equipment should transfer. So there should be some savings on that side
Okay.
too.
But inevitably, Commissioner, there's something, either the siren box doesn't fit, or, so there
Yeah.
will be some new equipment, but it
Okay.
should be reduced.
reduced.
Yes.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3-0 in favor.
Thank you. The chief has an update on some of the fraud activity that's going around, that we've been experiencing here in Lincoln County for the last couple of years.
Yeah, just briefly, I know in a previous meeting I told you I was gonna sort of make this a quarterly or every 3 or 4 months event, just simply to, because our media partners were here and Brad LCTV is here, because the sheriff and I were talking about this on the way over. The investigations that we do, and I think we do significant to track some of these fraud events down, almost always end up outside our country. So the likelihood we're going to recover or locate the offending person almost always ends on a dead end. So really the real best option here is education, prevention ahead of time. So my point to that is to bring some information out so the public hears about it. So if they're approached by one of these scammers or they have an issue, to before they do something, before they go buy something, before they transfer money, to reach out to law enforcement, a trusted friend, somebody to say, if it's too good to be true, it probably is true. So I just so for rough numbers, in 2023, we recorded over $290,000 in lost money here in Lincoln County. In 2024, that was $450,000 plus in lost money from fraud. Some of that, I think, is just better reporting, more encouragement for people to report. One of the things I told you at your last meeting, if we're getting 450 or 290,000 reported, how many people aren't reporting it because they're either embarrassed and they just don't want to deal with what they look at as shame? We encourage you to report that, and we'll try to mitigate, try to reduce the harm as quickly as we can. Currently, through April, that number is at $78,000 lost. And and I just wanted to highlight a couple cases so that people understand. In We had $1,500 from a contractor scam. Somebody says, I'm coming to do work at your house, I'm paying $1,500, and they never come back. There's things we can do. Maine's law requires a contract before you begin business. If your contractor shows up to do work and they don't want to sign a contract, you don't want to do business with them. And that's an example of a scam. We had a local business where their credit cards were hacked in excess of $8,000. And we're still working on that to see where that's coming from. We have one of the more common scams that seems to be increasing is this one totaled over $18,000, where the victim gets a call. They get a voice that someone identifying as a granddaughter says they've been in a crash and they need money for bail, and conveniently the bail commissioner will show up at the house, which is really brazen, right? Most of the stuff we've had in the past is stuff stealing money, sending money, or whatever, but for someone actually to show up at a house. That person was out $18,000. The next one was another granddaughter, and these people will keep going to the well until it goes dry. This was back in February, where the total reached $45,000 in bail money before we got involved in it. And that was a case where they would, instead of them coming to the house, they had them going and meeting them at different places around the mid-coast. Cryptocurrency, we talked about that last time. Somebody's account was hacked. They were out 2041. And these are another one where somebody got notified. Again, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Someone was notified they won an award for $90,000 from the Donald Trump grant. I'm not sure what that is, but all they had to do was pay $3,000 now to collect money, and they paid $2,558. So they're out close to $3,000. Anytime, if anybody is asking you to pay with gift cards for anything other than you're buying a gift for a friend, it's a scam. If someone's asking you to transfer money, bitcoins, if it's a government agency trying to collect money for bail to avoid your arrest warrant, we've had some recently where people have, using state databases, reached out to sex offenders, telling them, there's warrants for your arrest, identifying them as us. You need to pay this amount of money, or we're gonna come arrest you. And some of these people have contacted us. Who knows who hasn't? So we're just gonna keep bringing this issue out. Don't really need any action from you. I just want the community to be aware of it. Understand that if something seems too good to be true, if someone's trying to get you to do something urgently, it's probably a scam. You have to make a decision now, right now. There's probably something that's fishy. It's okay. We are getting more communication from businesses and banks where people may be going to draw money out. So I think that they're starting to get on top of this thing. And they're probably preventing stuff that we don't even know about. Someone goes to the bank, they're saying, hey, I think you may be getting scammed. Sometimes we get called, sometimes we don't. But if you know a friend, a loved one, somebody you care about, somebody you don't even care about, if you hear that they're involved in something, we have the dreaded romance scams, right? Where somebody meets somebody online, and they may be lonely, they may be looking for a friend. They're paying them money to keep their life up and maybe come visit them, and they'll just keep draining them until they finally, the relationship ends. So we'll keep updating you and passing it on, but it's really all about communication and education.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think the last item we have this morning is opening of bids, I think, for what is the last new vehicle purchase for this year.
We hope.
We hope.
It is our DRC.
Go for it.
Okay,
Throw up a letter opener, I guess.
Especially around here.
The road you drive is our dear alley.
Well, I think we received 2 bids, is that right, Karen?
2 bids.
2 bids.
identify, these two bids are for,
These two bids are for another new vehicle to replace one of our vehicles, I think, in CID?
No, this is a patrol
This is the
vehicle.
patrol vehicle?
The
Thank
three
you.
vehicles we just purchased, two are patrol
Patrol,
supervisor
one was
cars and
a
one of
CID.
them's a CID vehicle.
Okay.
David, would you identify?
I will try, let me see if I
So
can
this is
figure
a,
out
this
what
will
I'm
be a
looking at
full,
first.
this will be a marked unit, right? So
It'll be
one-
white, yeah.
Yeah.
Were there any other requirements for the bid submitters to make sure they cover?
Yes.
We'll open, give them out,
Okay.
and then give it to the sheriff. or
Okay,
To go
let
over.
me just check this. This one is from Ford, Dallins Ford in Bangor.
How much?
If I'm reading the number right, it's 45. 40, oops, I'm sorry, not 45, I wish it was 45. 48,880.
That's a little higher than the other one.
That 38 sounds pretty good right now, doesn't it?
So that, we'll give it to the sheriff, and we'll have it, table it, and then they'll,
Right.
You want me to read these?
if you would, please.
Two from Quirk Auto Group, the first for a detective SUV. We've got, with these specs in pen, $44,928. And then for a supervisor vehicle with these specs, $45,520.
So could we have it?
Provide a patrol bid.
That's what, that's the second one I read.
45, I'm sorry.
Yep, 45,520, patrol and supervisor spec.
So if we could just table it for now, please? Give a motion to table.
So moved.
Second,
Yep, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So
Okay, now, so you,
we'll take a look, sure. Yes, we'll take a look for you, Commissioner, and come back when you have
with your
time. yeah.
recommendations, yes.
Yeah,
have
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes to do that.
all right, I'll be right on it.
It's a scam.
Should I set a
Yeah,
timer?
really.
If you have
Should I set the
Bring
timer?
back Amazon gift cards.
yeah.
Yeah, see, now you're paying for that vacation, right? When you
That's
come
right.
back, let's get it done. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. I had the other one. What did I do with it?
Fancy colors. Colors?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
If it's all right, I'm gonna flip our agenda topics because I want to do the less exciting one first. We'll do a lead up. So we have before you two purchase orders for Ask Grant disbursement of funds. So this is our annual assistance with specific know-how grant that the RPC has been awarding for a number of years now. In the last budget cycle, we were able to increase the award amount and the total amount to be able to award up to five $5,000 grants to communities in Lincoln County. This is the first year in a while, at least, I think at least since Laura and I have been here, where we had more applications than funding, which was excited to see, but also talks about the need from communities. And so we awarded a total of 5. The first 2 towns have signed their Ask Grant agreement letter, which why I'm here with you today, and I'll be back hopefully on the 20th with the remaining 3. So the first is the town of Bremen. The broadband committee for the town of Bremen, with support from the select board, applied and was awarded an Ask Grant in the amount of $5,000 to engage a consultant to analyze their Internet for All program, with the goal of being able to provide permanent program solutions to the town and residents' needs for widespread Internet access. And the consultant that they will engage is going to provide a cost-benefit analysis of the program to see how it can move forward. And essentially what the town is looking to do is cover the costs of Internet to all residents in Bremen, trying to create true digital equity is what they put in their application. So I am here
today to ask for approval on the purchase authorization request to issue the ask grant to the town of Bremen.
So wasn't and Evan, you may know, didn't Tidewater already commit to reaching every home in Bremen? That was one of the first towns that.
I would say that their definition of reaching a home and our definition of reaching them might be different. So where they might say there is access may require a substantial fee to get hooked up.
A few homes are really out in the bullyways.
That's another way of putting it.
Yeah. And the town has asked for that to just truly make sure everybody has access.
Yes, yeah.
Move to approve the payment authorizations to Bremen in the amount of $5,000.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bremen's approved.
Thank you. So the second purchase authorization request is to award the town of Waldoboro their $5,000 ask grant to assist with a Yellow Book appraisal review for the former Sylvania site, which is necessary for the town to then be able to pursue future funding, especially federal funding, to repurpose the site into an outdoor recreation complex. So what they'll use this $5,000 for is bring someone on to do that appraisal and then submit it to the appropriate agencies at the state level to then move forward and hopefully access land and water conservation funds as well as possible other federal funding. They have support for the project from the former landowner as well as the public, and they've had conversations with EPA, DEP, who are all on board. So this is a investment in continuing to get that project moving ahead so that they can access greater funds to actually implement turning the former Sylvania site into the outdoor recreation complex that they have envisioned.
You mentioned Yellow Book. What's that?
So my understanding is that they had an agreement and a former land and water conservation grant for tennis courts at the former A.D. Gray School, and those are supposed to remain in perpetuity, but obviously that's being changed, and so they need to correct their error, if you will, and this appraisal is part of that to show that what they'll be creating at the Sylvania site is in comparison to what was at A.D. Gray with the tennis courts.
Move to approve the ask grant payment to Waldoboro for $5,000.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0 in favor of that.
That wasn't too boring.
Like I said, it's exciting, but not as exciting
Okay.
as Laura's here.
All right. Good shuffling now. Bill.
Those are yours.
Ready to pay?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. So I'm gonna tee Laura up and then I'm gonna give her the floor because she's really been our project manager on this project and we're excited to be here today. Almost exactly 2 years ago, we released the Lincoln County Housing Needs Assessment, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And as you can see, our copy from the office is a little beat up because it's not one that just sits on the shelf. We have been working to implement some of the 21 strategies that were identified 2 years ago to advance housing in Lincoln County. Those strategies include working with municipalities to set goals and foster public support through leading on education with the public and building internal capacity at the RPC to address affordable housing needs. We've also been working to implement projects and ensure long-term affordability by public-private partnerships with developers, the ARPA funding especially, as well as ensuring those ongoing affordability of housing units that are created through those partnerships with developers. What we're here to talk about today is really strategy 4 under our housing study, which is prioritizing sites and advancing shovel readiness. So one of the strategies was compile a prioritized inventory of potential housing development sites. We were also asked as one of the strategies was to look at acquiring sites with housing development potential, which again falls under the ARPA funds that you have dispersed over the past couple of years. And then also looking at addressing infrastructure gaps for key development sites. And if you'll recall, I was here at your last meeting to talk about a grant that we were awarded by the state recently in order to start implementing that. What's exciting is that we have compiled that prioritized inventory of potential housing development sites, which is the report you have in front of you, nicely bound today. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura to talk about the process that we went through with that, which was in partnership with Camoin Associates, who is also, we have a nice one for you too.
Yeah. So here are the final copies of the prioritized site inventory. Like Emily said, we have been engaging with Camoin Associates for a little over a year for this process on the site inventory, which kind of used two different mechanisms to look at potential affordable housing development sites. One of those being Camoin leading a Geographic Information Systems desktop analysis, which is just a fun way to say mapping process. So they were looking at a bunch of different factors, including environmental factors of properties that would make sense for development, and also talking with towns to see what their priorities are for those sites as well. So whether that's proximity to schools for areas that might make sense, and then also looking pretty deeply at towns' comprehensive plans to see their identified growth areas for the potential sites. So the prioritized part being those sites that make sense, not only just for housing, but make sense for the town and the future that they want to see moving forward. So as you flip through this, you'll probably see some of the fun pictures that Camoin added in of the potential different types of housing. So you could see some might look a little bit different depending on the town and the location that they're in. So through this process, we also talked with the sewer and water districts to ensure that these sites would make sense and that they would be able to maintain and continue to add on the number of houses that are proposed from the housing study itself, as well as from this process. Camoin also did direct outreach to all the properties that are listed in this document. So all the properties listed here, the property owners either agreed that yes, they would be interested to sell these properties to affordable housing developers, or they never heard back from the property. So there could be a potential if some extra steps are taken.
I haven't been able to tell yet, but is it for single-family residents or multiple unit?
It's a mix.
It's a mix.
It's a mix, yeah. So you can see.
Depending on the property.
Yeah, depending on the property and really depending on the town. So when you're looking at like Alna, you'll probably see the single family homes versus if you're looking in the growth areas within Damariscotta, you'll see some of those more multifamily styles of housing. And those are all just suggestions from Camoin, taking images that have been done throughout the state.
Yes. Yeah. So all the images that are shown are projects that have been developed in Maine. So we weren't looking at what's been done in Seattle or San Francisco. We're looking locally. Laura's also being incredibly modest about the GIS analysis. She played a huge role in that, creating a lot of data layers, looking at the comp plans. What you see in here is approximately 30 sites. We started with about 90. And Laura did the GIS analysis for all of those alongside Camoin, as well as did a build-out potential analysis, so reviewing zoning ordinances for all the municipalities to see what the development potential could be on that dry acreage for the site. So it was a significant amount of work on both her part as well as Camoin's to put this together. What was exciting to see was that's that 90, some of them whittled down based on feedback from the municipalities or saying, I don't know if that's the right location, but here's another one to look at. So there was a little bit of horse trading, if you will, on some of these. But what was encouraging was that a larger number than we expected of property owners had interest when Camoin contacted them to say, yes, we have an interest if there's the right person out there to develop this site to come and talk to us. Now, certainly we're not saying that as the county or the RPC that this must be a site that is developed for affordable housing. Simply what we're looking for this to be is a catalog, if you will, for developers or even the property owner themselves, if they have an interest in developing affordable housing, what could be done. There'd be more diligence that would need to be required, but again, this allows developers to come in and have some sense of what's out there in Lincoln County rather than trying to figure it out on their own.
It seems like it'd be very helpful to developers. Is it gonna be pushed out to a number of developers too, so that you don't have to wait for them to ask for your resources?
Yes,
You'll
yep.
get it out to them.
Do you want to talk about the workshop or?
Yeah. So we're looking, we're working out the specific date with Camoin to make sure that they could be there to talk about the work that they did. But we're looking to hold a workshop at the end of this month where we'll invite developers, other regional planning agencies, because they've been really interested in the work that we've been working on for this process, as well as different stakeholders that make sense, as well as municipalities, to have a workshop to kind of outline what went into this, the methodology behind it, but also the next steps for this process.
Do you have some developers, a list of developers who are potential candidates for going to that workshop?
We do. All the ones that have got ARPA funding to start, as well as we have other stakeholders and developers across the state that we're aware of. So we're going to spread this, we're going to distribute this widely. You're the first one seeing it. We even got some slack from our coworkers because we hadn't even shared it with them. We wanted you all to see it first. So we'll be dispersing this afternoon to all of our municipalities, our board membership, developers, and then when we have that date and time finalized with Camoin, we'll send out another announcement. We're expecting it to be on Zoom just because the group that we've been working with at Camoin would be coming up from Boston for this, so we figured Zoom would work well.
And does your list of developers include out-of-state developers too, potentially?
We don't, but we're hoping that we'll
Okay.
spread the word, so as we
Yeah.
get it out to the networks, they might spread it too.
Okay, great. Looks great.
Yes, yep, we're gonna send it to them as well.
I would invite them
Okay,
to the workshop.
sounds good.
Is
He's
the-
shopping for a new place.
While he's looking, is the Newcastle one at 0 Mills Road or Academy, is that the one that's owned by the town currently?
Yes,
No, okay. So they just need a developer?
yes, yep.
Yeah, okay.
Great.
Well, that's very nice. Should give some potential for affordable housing.
And the other exciting piece is as other properties appear up, we have the template. So while our contract with Camoin is up, they have provided us this document so we can continue to add, or if properties do get developed for housing, we can take them out of the profile and add something else in. So this will be a living document just like our housing needs assessment is.
So if some of the no-shows decide they call up
Yes,
that didn't
yep.
participate in the first place.
Yep. That's why Laura's phone number and contact information is at the bottom of every page.
If she's anticipating the phone ringing off the hook, right? Good,
Cool.
nice.
Awesome. Look no further.
That's the hope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To stay for the shared thing at the end of this. Okay. Nothing big.
Just to let them know what we've already done.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Ms. Huber, that's not,
Do you have a bid recommendation?
I can wait though.
Do you want to give it to us right now?
Sure, if Emily doesn't mind.
Can I sit here at least?
Sure can. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Looking at the bids, my recommendation would be that we award the bid to Quirk for a 2025 Ford Police Interceptor, all-wheel drive, white, standard police car, if you will, in the amount of $45,520. Darling was at $49,300 for the same vehicle. It meets all the bid specifications, including the spotlight, the speed ratios, all the.
So this is Quirk out of,
This is Quirk out of Augusta, Quirk Ford.
and do you usually where you purchase the vehicles, do you go back there for service, or is there a?
The only service we go back there for is if they give us a free oil change, you know what I mean, or anything that's warranted. And then we might take it to Wiscasset Ford because any Ford garage will, you know what I mean? But yes, we have that. So our service contract remains with Hillside.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So it's really price determinative, really, what
Yes.
the issue is.
Right.
If it's the same vehicle.
Right, yeah, and if it's warranted, we'll certainly take it to a Ford garage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Move to approve.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded to approve the court contract. All in favor? Aye. 3-0 in favor.
Thank you. What do you want me to do with these?
Just leave them there.
You got it. Thanks, Emily.
You guys are wonderful.
Gary, can I, just so I can send the quirk one up or send it over to you? Yeah. I'll bring it back today, I promise.
And the gift cards.
Oh,
Apple.
Apple.
Don't engage with him.
Oh, we do this all the time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm up here for a couple of reasons today, but I think not as exciting as everyone else, it feels like. The first thing on the agenda is talking about the command trailer disposal. If you guys don't know, our agency always carried, a tag-along camper as a mobile command center. I think we've had it since 2009, 2010 or so. We, in the interim, had purchased the 2019 Mercedes Sprinter van to replace the command trailer, and now we're in a position where we're ready to dispose of the trailer. So we had talked about having a proposal of putting it on the auction site, and I just need some approval for that as well.
Is this the one that's in storage?
It's currently up at recycling right now. I needed to make room for the Sprinter van to be housed in our storage unit. It's been kept inside for many years. It's in good shape. It's essentially a shell of a tag-along trailer. It doesn't have any working plumbing. It still has some working propane to a degree, and we can still use the kitchen in it, but it's a shell. It doesn't really have anything aside from countertops and more countertops.
Yeah, it was retrofitted so it could serve as a command vehicle and not as a camper. So the traditional beds and furniture that would be in a camper were removed so that we could put in workspace countertops. So typically when we have a piece of equipment of this nature, we would put it out to bid, and we have an online bid auction site that we use now for our patrol vehicles that we cycle out, and we would likely use the same process for this.
Is there a commission for that you pay the online service? Or?
There's a fee that the purchaser pays.
Oh.
So we get what the bid price is, and then there's the premium price that
Okay, I get it.
the
yeah.
purchaser needs to pay.
So you're just asking for permission to go ahead
Dispose of
and
it.
to put it on there. So do we have a
No.
motion?
Just ask one question first. No other use for it within the county?
No, and not even throughout the rest of the state.
Okay. Move to approve the disposal of the command trailer and to put it on the online auction system.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. You could fix it over and for a camper for the wildlands.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a mobile law office or whatever.
Well, that would be
There you
fun.
go.
It's very small.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah. I
Just
have
when we
big
needed
ideas.
Uncle Henry's, and now they've left us.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0 in favor.
Humble?
So the next conversation is on the ambulance. It's a very similar conversation, but we have to talk out some of the logistics of this. So again, a little bit of history on the ambulance is it's an old ambulance that was outfitted with radio equipment, of ham radio equipment, amateur radio equipment, and even just our public safety radio equipment. We have a very active communications team that utilized this vehicle. It was donated to us in 2017. It's it's had its life with us. I think it's a 2000 GMC 3500. We were originally thinking of the same process, the bid sites, but I recently have learned that there is a major engine failure happening with it. So regardless of what we do, it would have to be towed out of my storage unit, and I would recommend it be used as salvage at this point. We didn't pay anything for it. If we're gonna get a little bit of something for it, you know.
So whatever we can get for it.
That's
Yes.
quite a sales job. I can see the phones are ringing now.
It's
So we can put this on the auction site. They do list scrap material, so we could list it as a non-functioning
There's some
vehicle.
junkers who might like that.
There may be.
Right.
There may
Especially,
be.
there's not too many ambulances out there.
Right.
yeah,
It's a niche market.
One of one. Maybe if we put that in the auction detail, one of
you
one.
put it in. It does have a lot of the hookups and the outfits. It's not going to be sold with the radios. That is being completely stripped out so that they can be rehomed. It will also be essentially an empty shell of an ambulance, but it has a fold down workbench, which is kind of neat and different, I guess, about any other ambulances. And I don't
Can the
know.
box come off on the back if you remove that from the vehicle with the bad engine?
It might. People do
with
crazy
Do with it
things.
what you want.
Do whatever.
Yeah,
Well, a lot of
Okay.
people are turning them into campers these
they
days.
are. Yeah.
So there
And
might be
Right.
an interest.
What do we pay to list them?
I don't think there's a fee to list them.
Okay.
So is there a motion to get rid of this?
Yes.
Yeah,
Piece of
yeah, yeah.
equipment.
We'll get rid of
Move
it.
to dispose of
Please.
the
Second.
ambulance.
Taking
All
residence.
in favor of getting rid of this?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0. Now,
Get
the
rid of two
utility.
and buy one.
Buy one.
I see what you're doing
Yes,
there.
right. I'm right on it. So, in earlier conversations when we were looking to purchase this 2019 Sprinter van, we were looking to replace both of the vehicles that you guys just approved to dispose of. In doing so, yes, we now have the Sprinter van, but we would like to purchase a pull-along trailer, 6x12 trailer, as an accessory to the Sprinter van, and to replace a lot of the functionality of what the ambulance used to do.
Could the Sprinter van pull a trailer?
Yep, it's
Okay.
already got a hookup for
Oh.
trailer and everything, so it's functioning enough to do that. I have my vehicle that does that as well. My truck does that, and then our radio team is all on board for being able to pull a trailer with their own vehicles as well.
The nice part about a plan like this is if you need the Sprinter van without the radio equipment, the trailer stays put and
Exactly.
you take the Sprinter van, but you can pull it along and it's an easy tow. It's not like trying to pull the camper van behind a pickup.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was already allocated.
So we originally allocated $140,000 towards the Sprinter van and its accessories. We spent $129 on the van, so we still have
Have fun.
an additional $11,000 to be spent specifically on this project.
Move to approve the purchase authorization of the utility trailer for $5,895.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. No comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0 in favor.
Have fun.
Anything else you're gonna get rid of?
You wait. We've been doing a lot of inventory in the office and
Okay.
making sure equipment is functioning. It's something that has been lacking over the years, so this is why I'm coming to you all at once with a lot of different equipment. But I'd like to see our office being fully functioning and fully deployable at all times.
Would those accessories qualify under what we allocated with the remainder?
For ARPA? Yes.
Well, we're not sending it back.
No.
No, let's not send it back.
And speaking of ARPA, our annual ARPA report was due April 30th, so that's been submitted.
Oh, good.
And it's all designated as lost revenue because that's the easiest for you to make decisions on usage and all of that. So all of our allocations were done prior to the December 31st deadline, and we're moving forward with spending those dollars.
Okay.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're staying?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, my turn. I have a hiring recommendation for you for the executive assistant position. And to refresh your memories, we had a administrative assistant position in our budget for several years that was not filled, and the position was restructured to give it more responsibilities to serve as a backup to some of the functions in our finance and HR offices. And it helps us with succession planning for expected retirement that we're gonna have early next year. So I make the recommendation that we hire Wendy Noel to the position of executive assistant, and her start date would be May 27th.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0 in favor.
Okay, next is our collection of DOT notices of layout and taking. The first one comes to us for the town of Edgecombe, and the second one is for the town of Whitefield, and they're both related to drainage on state roadways. They've provided the typical maps where you can guess where they're located. This one's State Aid Highway Number 2 River Road in Edgecombe, and it's a cofferdam, just like the ones that we previously had. The second one is on Route 194, right where Whitefield and Pittston come together, and it's also a culvert situation on the roadway.
Since we're recording this for the first time, could you just give a 30 seconds of this quirky action that we have to take?
Why is it here?
So the DOT is making the recommendation that they acquire some private property. Usually it's just a sliver of land around a roadway, a shoulder, a culvert, something like that. They record that transaction in a notice of layout and taking that is recorded with the Register of Deeds office. DOT prepares all of this, they notified the property owners, and they then make an offer to the property owners that are affected for the purchase of that piece of land. This notice is put on public record, so anybody that would like to look at the notices can come into our office and look at them. We don't scan the maps from the notices, we put them in a file cabinet, and honestly, there's never a lot of interest in them, but they are available. If anybody wants to look at them, we'll pull them out.
They get recorded too, though, so they can,
This document gets
the
recorded.
plans do not?
The plans do not. DOT only records this document. They're
But
apparently
we
it's not
have the
required.
physicals.
We have the physical
Okay, so
if
if somebody wanted to see them.
correct.
So we
And-
have nothing to do with it, only to accept it.
You accept it, you
Record.
place it on record, and then if the property owner disputes the offer being
We've got the
extended,
copy.
then you participate in the hearing
And
that
when's the last
DOT
time that
holds.
ever happened?
It was last year we had one.
Okay.
Yeah, we had
In
down in
Bristol?
Bristol,
Yeah, they're occasional.
South Bristol.
Not a complete antiquated thing.
No.
It is real.
No, and DOT does all of the administration of that process. They just notify us that it's happening, and usually it's the commissioner who represents the district that would serve on that panel, and they go view the property with the other panel members, and then they come back here to deliberate. That last one was a quite lengthy deliberation, if I recall.
Yeah, it was
They were
down,
here.
it was by the cemetery in South Bristol, right by the golf course, beyond the golf course.
Move to approve the notice of layout and taking for the town of Edgecombe.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to approve the
You aye?
Yeah.
DOT notice of layout and taking for the town of Whitefield.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0.
Thank you. The next item is a revisit to the Huntoon Hill Tower lease. We have a lease right now with US Cellular. They have their cellular phone equipment on our Huntoon Hill Tower. That's the tower that we own as the county. And they pay us a lease payment. Periodically, US Cellular will ask to make upgrades to the equipment on the tower. Most recently, I think, was when they replaced the guide wires on the tower. At their expense, they hired the contractors to do that, and then they did the upgrades to those wires. They're now asking to do some reconfiguration of the equipment that's at the top of the tower, meaning they would put in new support braces and then realign the equipment. I believe that they're doing this as a precursor to a merger with another cellular company. They've asked us to do that, and in that process, they would need to amend the lease agreement that they have with us because the agreement calls out all of the equipment specifically. They also suggested that we extend the terms of the lease to be 4 more 10-year terms, which is an extensive amount of time. So I replied back to them that the county is not interested in pursuing a term like that. They're now asking if we would allow them to make the upgrades to the equipment and remove the lease extension from the amendment, if we would be willing to do that. I don't have any objections to them realigning their equipment, but not extending the terms of the agreement.
When does it otherwise expire?
I believe it's coming up quickly here.
And we're currently on a 10, or is it was 25? From
We
the
were on,
initial agreement.
I have it here. Initial term was 20 years, and they had one option to renew for an additional 10 years. So they amended it back on March 20th of 2018. And that was for some antenna, and that was the guide wire amendment.
So 3 more years, it sounds like.
So the first lease was in January of 97.
So 2027.
2017, so 2027 it will expire,
Okay.
completely expire.
Right.
So I'd like to make the recommendation to you that we allow them to make the upgrades to their equipment and not extend the terms of the lease. And I would also suggest that we hire a consultant to start representing us in these lease negotiations.
Do you think hiring a consultant would make a big difference, or,
I think hiring a consultant will get you a more realistic market rate.
okay,
I don't know what that rate is. I have no idea how to collect that.
right.
So there is a local person that owns the Blinn Hill Tower that we're currently on that does this type of work for other counties. And then there's also another person that was referred to me out of Penobscot County that is new to this field of lease negotiation and tower management, tower site management.
Would, is it necessary to make that decision now, or could we wait a year if it's expiring in '27? Or how long would the process take, I guess?
I'd like permission to start asking what that process would look like. What
the cost would be, what the county would be obligated to, not to enter into an agreement, but just
okay.
to start
I get it.
gathering information to make that decision.
What she said, I move. No, I forgot it. Approve the
Equipment maintenance.
equipment maintenance without any extension of the contract, and then to authorize the administrator to engage in some initial discussions with potential consultants on renewals for the future.
Seconded.
Thank you.
Moved and seconded. Can you repeat that?
I think I have it right here, word for word.
All in favor?
Okay, aye.
Aye.
You're a jokester too.
3-0 in favor.
Just as an aside, I noticed that the tower out here seems pretty rusty. I don't know if we have annual maintenance on that or not, or painting, or
We don't talk about that tower.
we don't talk
That
about
one
that one. This one, yeah.
Yeah, we don't talk about it.
All right, well, I'll try not to. But it's something I noticed as I was driving by the other day, thinking, man.
I'm hoping at some point that tower can go away.
Oh, okay.
But for today, it's functioning perfectly.
Oh, okay.
Don't breathe too hard.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, next item is the Station Design Conference. This is the conference that I told you about that's in Glendale, Arizona, coming up in a couple weeks. And it's specific to agencies who are looking to build public safety facilities in whatever manner that may look like. And we invited several of our department heads, and between calendar conflicts and planned vacations, we've settled on 3 of our employees going to the conference. So it'll be Sheriff Brackett, our communications director Tara Doe, and our EMA director Emily Huber. They'll all be traveling to Glendale, and the cost of the registration for the conference, the lodging for all 3 of them, the flights, and then the cost of the per diem for meals, the total amount is about $6,900. So I'd like permission for the out-of-state travel and to cover the expenses.
When is this taking place?
It's, first day is May 18th.
May 18th? Well, it'll still be pretty warm out there then.
Did you want to go?
No.
I could probably find you a flight.
No, that's all right.
Well, I assume they'll be stuck in conference room with AC that's too high, as they
Likely, they'll all come back
Great.
with respiratory infections from it.
Exactly. But if you could remind us, there's topics that will help us as we're trying to plan a new public safety building.
So there's
Right.
many different agenda items specific to what we're trying to do. In addition to that, they have one-on-one consulting sessions where they can look at your project at the step it's at today, and then offer some insight and some suggestions on ways that you can design it or plan for usage that might be outside of what you've already explored. So it'll expand our focus so that maybe we find 1 or 2 or more different uses for that facility, ways to fund that facility, ways that it could be more streamlined or made more efficient down the road, or plan for future life expectancy on that. There's a lot of different and valuable topics that they'll be covering in this
So have we
conference.
tasked one of those 3 to take the lead on that and sort of get, I mean, because they each come from separate departments. You're not apparently attending, so
Right.
Who is going to sort of ask that overarching question?
I think Emily just volunteered.
So I'm not gonna.
I wondered if she was waving back
But
there. so-
I just want to put out there that like we all did our research on it. Like even from my perspective, as it's hard to find things for EMA, and there are a lot of different individual sessions that cover EOCs. They cover, and I think that all of us are going to be able to get something out of it to the point that we're going to have to divide and conquer during the same time frames of the information that's going to be put out there. We're all very excited for the one-on-one sessions so that we can discuss kind of layouts of each of our needs and our wants. And it's going to be extremely beneficial for all three of us, no matter how we're looking at it.
Because that's what I'm curious about, is that what else could we do while we're building? Is there more county services that could be delivered through there, or do we collaborate with one of the towns wherever we end up, or maybe abutting towns? Is there some opportunities to do something together there? So
Yeah.
hopefully you can engage in that discussion. And
It will be
bring
very
us back
interesting.
there.
It's very law and fire heavy
Okay.
based, but again, there's a lot of individual sessions around each of our needs. So I don't think we'll come away with nothing.
Great.
I just comment, when we did this when we built 2 bridges, and it was very beneficial.
I think
Yeah.
the one-to-one things sound really
Yeah, we're
a
all
great
very,
feature, yeah.
very excited to the point that we all had to move our schedules around so that we could make sure this a priority, because we want to make sure that all of us can get something out of it,
Right.
and that not one of us can speak more than the other, you
Right.
know?
great. Well,
Good.
take good news.
Hey, you want a motion to
Yes,
approve?
please.
Okay, move to approve the travel for the sheriff, EMA director, communications director for a total of $6,900.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0.
Going to Glendale.
Yeah,
We're excited.
Good.
good. Can't wait to hear the report back.
How many days? 3?
I think it's 4. We'll be leaving on that Sunday to make sure that we can get there for the Monday one-on-one sessions, and the last day of the conference is Thursday. So we'll be heading out on Friday, or coming back on Friday.
Cool.
And all the deputies will be ready to go if something happens while you guys are all away.
I think Carrie will be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, yeah.
yeah, they all have deputy
They're all
directors
deputy
or,
directors, right? yeah.
We're gonna get to see some fresh faces on the 20th.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We should have all deputy
Put
directors.
'em on-
Deputy day.
Put something on the agenda so
There
they
you
all have
go.
to
Yeah.
speak.
There
Yeah,
you
I'm
go.
nervous.
you know?
That'd be great for them.
Yeah.
Good idea.
All right.
Okay, next item
Yes.
is the proposal that we received from LCTV regarding the camera installation. And what that proposal would do is have a camera mounted above your head there on the wall. There'll be one on the back. Each of the seats will have a microphone. There'll be 2 microphones at the table here, and then it'll have all the supplementary equipment, the mixing switches and all of that fun stuff that I'm not an expert on, but I have an expert here if you have questions. It would also, also included in the proposal is the cost to have a technician attend each of our meetings to run that equipment and then upload it so that we can be live streaming it. One of the notes that I made while I was sitting here is to start a Lincoln County YouTube channel so that we can use our Zoom platform to live stream to YouTube while the meetings are happening.
Right.
So those kinks I'm still working on, but
Do we have to do anything different in that corner to house any of like the laptop computer, the converter, any other equipment?
so there's a
for storage?
case that it stores
Okay.
in that can stay here.
Okay.
If that table needs to move, we can find a different workstation or,
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
I think once we get the equipment on site and
Right.
we actually physically can see it in the space, then we can address anything else that might be needed for it.
And did they say like, once approval is given, how quickly it could go live next, or is the equipment readily available?
The equipment, we would need to make a payment for the equipment
Mhm.
and then it could be ordered and I think it would arrive within a week or so.
Oh,
And then
okay.
it could,
Potentially at the next
installation is,
meeting.
I'm sorry,
I was just saying, potentially at the next meeting, we would be.
Potentially.
Yeah.
yes.
I see a nod in the back, maybe, it's like a semi,
I'd say 1 or 2 weeks.
okay,
Installation is a matter of putting a bracket on the wall.
Okay.
The network cable's already in place, and the cameras will be powered by the network.
Okay.
So it would be a very easy to install
Right.
system.
Okay. Move to approve the proposal of LCTV to outfit this room for recording and broadcasting of our meetings.
I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other comments?
One question. One thing I've never looked up is why people use town hall streams versus YouTube as a platform. Has that come up yet?
I think it's tied to their website,
What's town hall streams?
but
Town
I'm
hall
not
streams.
certain of that.
Just like YouTube, but they primarily house the digital record, and that's where you can watch instead of on YouTube. So some people just have it streaming through this outfit called Town Hall Streams.
Okay.
It's the second most common thing after YouTube.
Oh, really? Okay.
But yeah,
I
you
can
think
look
it's
into
tied
that.
through there? I don't know. Maybe YouTube's too corporate. They don't want it to live there. I don't know.
Or,
I don't know the answer, but I'll look it up.
but
Yeah,
no,
it'll
you
come
have
up.
a
Hand is
handout
risen.
behind you. so-
Most towns in Lincoln County, Waldeboro, Wiscasset, Newcastle, Damascotta, they all stream their select board and planning board meetings and budget committees, such like that, all to their YouTube channels. I don't know what town hall is.
Yeah. I think Booth Bay uses it, and Sagadahoc uses it, and a few other people out there.
Yep. The only one I don't know about is Bristol. They tend to upload their stuff to Google Drive, and that's where I usually get it from. But they don't have a YouTube channel that I know about. That's all I wanted to say.
Cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
Figure that
I'll
out
still look into
as we
it.
go along. Cool.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3-0.
And just so I'm clear, the proposal is the equipment and the
Ongoing
per
cost of
meeting
it, yes.
labor costs to have the technician here.
At the 3-hour minimum. Yes.
I do have an update for you on the DA's office restitution. I reached out to their office supervisor, and the deputy district attorney contacted the county where this individual was being prosecuted, and the case is still pending, so nothing has been ordered yet as a result of the actions with the credit card here. But I let her know that we would be looking for a routine update on this until the matter was completely resolved.
So that sounds like when they say the matter was in litigation, that's the act of using the card and then pulling it back, that charge of, because I thought Assistant DA Murdoch said that they were pursuing charges around that incident. And is that what that is? Or,
She said where he's being prosecuted and the case is still pending.
and the case is still pending, or like which case, I guess, that's what I'm.
Sounds like what he's sitting in.
Something else is why he's in the other
Jail.
county. Yeah, okay. I guess that's
So you want to know about,
just whether or
New
not
charges.
the new charges were brought or not for that activity.
specific to the,
Yes. Because I don't see why they would say that he's still under those charges without addressing, what we were talking about here.
I will get an update.
Good, thank you. Oh, I had it on two things. LCTV.
So the next one is the proposal that was separate from the cameras.
Okay, got it.
Do you want to take any action on that today?
Is there anything new to report? I guess my lingering question is which towns would opt in enough for it to make sense to even start to think about them coming in as an organization of part of the county? Because if only one town or no town opts in, it doesn't look like it accomplishes what they're trying to accomplish.
I don't think so.
Okay, so I guess we'll just keep it there until we get more information.
No action.
No action.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have an update for you on the public safety building project. We had a Zoom meeting with the consultants that we're using, and right now we're doing site evaluations. We've got a list of 10 different possible locations that are in Newcastle and Noblesboro that have a site that is large enough in acreage. We would need at least, I think it's either 12 or 14 acres to accomplish everything that we've put into our preliminary site. And of the 10, there are 6 of the 10 are feasible for our needs. So what the consultant is going to do is then move it to the next step where there's regulatory analysis done, there's mapping done. Our planning office is gonna help with that so that it keeps our costs down with the consultant. And then the other thing that we need to consider is whether or not these parcels are something that the owner would be interested in selling.
So it's not, their criteria wasn't just go look at properties that are for sale now. It's just where would it work and then deal with the owners or whatever.
Right, so the list was made based on proximity to the areas that we've identified as being priority and then large enough so that we could accommodate everything we're trying to do. I think only one of the 10 was for sale at the time that the list was compiled. I don't know if any of these parcels are listed on the site inventory that the planning office presented today for housing. So that might give us an idea on whether or not there's interest in selling.
Right.
But Sheriff Brackett has indicated that he would be open to going and meeting with the owners of the properties if we get to a point like that, just to explain what we're trying to do and to see if there's an interest in selling part of the property or all of the parcel.
Right. Or there's a combination of a couple different owners?
Yes.
Are they looking at that idea too, if they overlap or next to each other? We would have to approach more than just one owner.
Most of these are standalone.
Standalone, okay.
Parcels. But there's one here that's on the list that's feasible. It's 51 acres.
Huh?
We wouldn't need 51
Right.
acres, but are all 51 acres buildable?
Right.
There was at least one parcel that had wetlands as part of the parcel, but not in a section that would prohibit construction and
Right.
road access. So there's a lot of different things that are going into this analysis. We do have another meeting scheduled for next Friday, I believe it is.
This Friday.
Oh, it's this Friday.
And things can change after our delegation comes back from Arizona, right? And say, we need more than 15 acres or whatever, right?
We were pretty aggressive with our requests.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I don't know that it'll change a whole
Change it,
lot,
right.
but it could. Who
Right.
knows? I mean, who knows what they're gonna get out of this?
Yeah, okay.
But we have another meeting scheduled and
Okay.
we're moving this process along. We want
Nice.
to be able to have our timeline in line with the congressionally directed spending request window that we're hoping will open next spring. So all of the things that we
Right.
need to do on our
For
end,
grant funding that would help pay for.
yes. That's our ultimate goal, is to allow the federal government to pay for this for
That
us.
would be very nice. I'm sure the county would appreciate that. Yes.
I'm certain they would. So it is moving forward.
Great, thank you.
And I have an update on tax abatement hearings. We have one pending for the town of Bremen that has initially indicated that they'd be willing to an extension until the end of June. And I reached out and got a response from them yesterday, and they were waiting on some records from the town. I would be of the mindset that it's time to schedule this. They've had plenty of time to gather all of their supporting documents to build their case and prepare to present it to you. So I'll be reaching out to them with some dates in June to get this scheduled. The other one that we have
that you've accepted is with a property owner in the town of Whitefield. And they indicated that there may be additional property owners coming with tax abatement applications for similar situations. And I did receive one yesterday, but it was incomplete, so I'll be reaching out to them for the complete document that they need to prepare. And I'll have that on the next agenda for you to accept if they are timely. But I would recommend that we hold these hearings separate from each other so that the facts of each case can be considered independently. And I have some dates from you, so I'll reach out to them to get that scheduled. I'm hoping that that can be made in May.
Do you think we could nail that down this week? So, I mean, summer's coming up quickly and the calendar's gonna be
My plan is to
crazy.
reach out to both of
You
them.
don't want to spend sunny days in here listening to tax hearings?
Of course
I
not.
don't
I'm not sure if
either.
these windows open, so.
Come on, guys.
They do, but the AC works in here.
Oh, okay, well,
When the chiller's on and
yeah.
the boiler's off.
Well, can't guarantee if it's nice out there, that we're in here. so.
Right, right. It does get a little, you can tell because the traffic's backed up and,
Oh, yeah.
and everybody wants to go outside then.
There we go. Sell drinks to the people who are stopped, right? Need a little
Lemonade stand.
Lemonade, that's right, anything to help the county, right?
Okay, so
So-
I do have an executive session scheduled for discussion of legal under 1 MRSA 4056E.
In that regard, I will move motion that we do go into that executive session for discussion of legal in 1 MRSA 4056E.
Second.
Moving seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0.